Besser Ma'ab, world, Mefeskadus, Adawamla, Amen. Besser Ma'ab, world, Mefeskadus, Adawamla, Amen. Besser Ma'ab, world, Mefeskadus, Adawamla, Amen. Yes, good morning and blessings and love on this Sabbath. And I always say I wear the Nutella on the Sabbath as a way of marking the end of a week and the beginning of a new week. So it's a tradition that I've kept up for this Bible reading. So yeah, we'll see how we go through the trod, but yeah, bless and love this Sabbath, and yeah, I pray everyone's well. Whatever you're doing today to observe the Sabbath in your own way, it might be a communal way, it might be a private way, but you know, keep the Sabbath in our heart and in our minds, and if we can, in our bodies and in our non-actions, if you like. Anyway, all right, on with the reading. Numbers chapter 9. Give thanks, blessed love. Yahweh spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they had come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Let the children of Israel keep the Passover in its anointed season. On the 14th day of the month at evening you shall keep it in its appointed season. You shall keep it according to all its statutes and according to all its ordinances. Moses told the children of Israel that they should keep the Passover. They kept the Passover in the first month, on the 14th day of the month at evening, in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Yahweh commanded Moses. So the children of Israel did. There were certain men who were unclean because of the dead body of a man, so that they could not keep the Passover on that day. And they came before Moses and Aaron on that day. Those men said to him, We are unclean because of the dead body of a man. Why are we kept back, that we may not offer our offering to Yahweh in its appointed season among the children of Israel? Moses answered them, saying, Wait, that I may hear what Yahweh has commanded concerning you. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Say to the children of Israel, If any man of you, of your generations, is unclean by reasons of a dead body, or is on a journey far away, he shall still keep the Passover to Yahweh. In the second month, on the 14th day at evening, they shall keep it. They shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it until morning, nor break a bone of it. According to all the statutes of the Passover, they shall keep it. But the man who is clean and is not on a journey and fails to keep the Passover, they shall be cut off from his people, because he didn't offer the offering to Yahweh at its appointed season. That man shall bear his sin. If a foreigner lives amongst you and desires to keep the Passover to Yahweh, then he shall do so according to the statute of the Passover and according to its ordinances. You shall have one statute, both for the foreigner and for him who was born in the land. On the day that the tabernacle was raised up, the cloud covered over the tabernacle, even the tent of testimony. At evening it was over the tabernacle, as it were the appearance of fire until morning. So it was continually. The cloud covered it, and the appearance of fire by night. Whenever the cloud was taken up from over the tent, then after the children of Israel travelled, and in the place where the cloud remained, there the children of Israel camped. At the commandment of Yahweh the children of Israel travelled, and at the commandment of Yahweh they encamped. As long as the cloud remained on the tabernacle, they remained encamped. When the cloud stayed on the tabernacle many days, then the children of Israel kept command of Yahweh and didn't travel. Sometimes the cloud was a few days on the tabernacle. Then according to the commandment of Yahweh they remained encamped, and according to the commandment of Yahweh they travelled. Sometimes the cloud was from evening until morning, and then the cloud was taken up in the morning, and they travelled, or by day or by night. When the cloud was taken up they travelled, whether it was 2 days or a month or a year that the cloud remained in the tabernacle, remaining it. The children of Israel remained encamped, and they didn't travel. But when it was taken up, they travelled. At the commandment of Yahweh, they encamped. At the commandment of Yahweh, they travelled. They kept Yahweh's command at the commandment of Yahweh by Moses. For these few words I give thanks, blessed love. So here we have God saying to the people that they must keep the Passover, because it's been a year since the previous Passover. So time is passing and they're still on the journey from Mount Sinai to the Promised Land. So it's the time of Passover again. And as we heard here, there's some men that said, you know, we might be considered unclean because we were engaged with a dead body. One of their relatives might have died or something, so they had to deal with the dead body. So that's considered unclean. So they ask, why is it that we can't partake in the Passover? And then God commanded Moses to tell them that in a month's time you can take part in the Passover. So that second Passover is basically called second Passover. It's a tradition, whether if you're not able to observe it in the first time because of different circumstances, then you can observe it a month later. And then it says also that the people in that weren't of the land, foreigners in the land, should also partake in the Passover along with the other children of Israel. And then it's got the how God's with the people in the form of a cloud. So when the cloud's low, the people are camped and it's in the form of a fire. But then when it raises up into the sky, then the people know that God now wants to travel. So God is with them every step of the way. Just a bit of reflection going back in terms of the dead bodies and the rituals around the death. Because I wanted to kind of reflect on, you know, again, within the Rastafari tradition and community, that, you know, many Rastafari wouldn't go to funerals, not even of their parents. And it says this a few chapters back. It says, don't engage with the dead body, even if it's your mother or your father. And I remember definitely back in the day when Rastas wouldn't go to funerals of their parents, no matter who it was. They weren't entering the graveyard or anything like that. But I definitely also see how times have changed with that. There's quite a few Rastafari funerals of elders that I went to last year, God rest their souls. That generation of ancients are passing on. And it does feel like the Rastafari community have gone from, in a sense, zero funerals and let another, you know, the Christian church, etc., bury the dead. So now they're burying their dead. They've got Rastafari services and people officiating those services, and they've got a whole set of traditions. It is really interesting. I went to about 4 Rastafari funerals last year. And yeah, each one you could kind of see similarities with how they're officiating the funeral services, but also some differences as well, and how one's building on top of the other. And huge elaborate affairs, you know, Nyabingi drumming at the graveside in the church, and a procession, and yeah, really beautiful, heartfelt occasion. So it does really feel like the Rastafari community have stepped up in terms of burying its own and taking care of its own. And it's, like I say, it's not really a generational thing, because it's the elders very much leading those funeral processions. It wasn't the youngers taken on that. So I think that's a really interesting development within Rastafari, that they are now engaging with the idea of death and you know, and burial and those rituals as well. Within the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, I haven't been to an Ethiopian funeral as of yet. Give thanks for that. But you know, as a organised church, they do bury their dead. I mean, actually, I say that one of the Rastafari funerals I went to last year was a combined Rastafari and Ethiopian funeral, actually, because the elder was a member of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church as well as Nyabingi. So outside the church, they had Nyabingi drumming. The church itself and the service was Ethiopian Orthodox, ran by the priests. And that was a beautiful occasion. And then around the graveside, it was a combination of the Ethiopian Orthodox priests saying the prayers over the casket, and then the Nyabingi drummers were there as well. And yeah, it was a beautiful occasion. So I take that back, actually. I have been to an Ethiopian Orthodox you know, service, but I guess what I meant was a traditional one for a member of the Ethiopian community. I haven't done that, and again, I give thanks for that. So yeah, just a bit of reflection really on death practices within the Ethiopian tradition and also the Rastafari tradition. I do think people, take responsibility and bury your dead. Otherwise, they're getting buried under a name of a god that you weren't necessarily worshipping. And, there's no regrets in terms of when that happens, because families have got to do what they've got to do. People grieve in different ways. But yeah, I definitely see how things have changed over the years. So yeah, I will end here. I won't elaborate any further, but it's a lot of food for thought. So on this Sabbath day, you have a blessed day, and I wish you all well. I wish you all good health. Anyone not doing well, in our prayers in a communal sense, and say prayers for anyone's that you know the names of in your heart, and continue to pray for ones and each other, and even ones we don't know. Just we wish well on each other as a community of people. So blessed love, give thanks, and God willing, more tomorrow. Oneness.